This took so long to get started, but we finally started. I can't believe it.
We're live?
We're freaking live. I don't give you guys a countdown. I like the candid. If you've been listening, you know the intros are hella weird. We got a new
We
person.
don't have an intro.
I know we don't. We got a new person on the pod tonight.
We do?
Yes. Whoa, who's that?
All I want to know if you got your popcorn ready. Do you got your popcorn ready?
I ain't wearing no underwear today. I ain't gonna wear no underwear. That's
you ain't gonna wear no underwear? You ain't gonna wear no underwear. That's good, because I'm coming up here.
Stranger danger.
Stranger danger. We got Ray Flethcer with us tonight. Ray, what up?
What's up? What's up, guys?
Welcome, Ray.
Thank
Appreciate you joining us.
Absolutely. Excited to be here, man. Been watching the show and hearing Al shouted me out last week. Made me feel extra big time, bro.
Gabe was telling me, I'm tired of carrying the show. We need someone else on here. You're actually pretty heavy, Al. My back hurts.
My throat was hurting a little last week. I felt like I talked too much, so I just need to ease off the shoulders. We're feeling like LeBron over here,
So we are Watch the Throne fantasy football show, and that's how we open up shows. It's myself, Al King, with Gabe Hernandez and Ray Flethcer, the new cast of usual suspects. We have a decent little episode lined up today. News and notes, brief. Wide receiver rankings, top 40 for all of us. And then we're going to do a mock draft, 12-team PPR scoring. I'm in the 10 slot. Ray took the 5. Gabe, where'd you land? 12?
No, I took 2. I have 12 this Sunday in our draft for CBS. I don't want to give any secrets away. But I do have the 2 pick in our 10-man league in Yahoo. So, it won't be exactly the same, but, maybe I'll give a little secrets there.
Sure. Okay, cool. So we got that on the back end of the episode. We'll hop right into news and notes. Not too much. We're going to be brief with it. Jaden Daniels, starting quarterback, Washington. I know it's kind of old news, but we haven't talked about it. Jaden Daniels, fantasy outlook for both of you guys really quick.
I did not see that coming, that he was going to be the starter, by the way. That's breaking news. Shocking.
Get out of here.
Unbelievable.
Get out of here.
I think as of right now, I know he's a hot sleeper on a lot of people's boards, and he's climbing up the draft boards. I have him at 20. Just a little hesitant of a rookie quarterback. Even when we talked quarterbacks on our first episode, Al, we saw C.J. Stroud's numbers last year. They weren't the greatest. They were nice, but they weren't, I don't even think he was top 10 if I remember correctly. But, I have him at 20, but he's definitely going higher than 20. I know people have him at 12, 15, somewhere in that area. So he's definitely climbing up draft boards, and he's definitely a hot quarterback to have.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. Jaden Daniels is a hot name right now, hot ticket. I'm a big fan. Don't get me wrong. Like, he's an absolute stud, and he's got a receiver I'm a real big fan of too. Is prime for a big season with some deep accuracy that we saw out of Jaden Daniels in college, and I'm excited to see what he can do in the pros. But in all honesty, I mean, he's a rookie, and as Gabe mentioned, and I'm probably not going to be drafting him this season unless he's ending up on my team as a backup somehow in a deep league. But he's definitely the right guy for the job, and I'm excited to see him play.
You're excited about Jahan Dotson, though. We just want to make that clear for everyone, right? Jahan Dotson's the receiver you're excited about in Washington?
I mean, we'll get to that a little bit, but yeah, don't get your hopes up. Don't hold your breath on that
one. Aiden O'Connell lost his starting job here in Vegas. If you don't know, we're based in Las Vegas, all 3 of us actually. Lost the starting job to Gardner Minshew. I think that is a uptick for the likes of Devontae Adams, Michael Mayer, Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers. I think it's better that he's out there gunslinging rather than Aiden O'Connell. Aiden has some issues, I think, still, especially with his mechanics, to be honest. I think he's got to clean that up a little bit more before he can really be a gunslinger. But Minshew, he's a gamer. He's not afraid to throw it. And he produced Michael Pittman last year for the Colts. So I'm sure Devontae is going to be plenty fine. Ray, does it mean anything to you that Minshew is a starter over O'Connell?
It just definitely means something to me. I assumed that it was going to be O'Connell going in and Minshew was going to be his backup, and that had me a little down on Devontae and some other weapons there in Las Vegas. But I do expect Devontae to put up another Devontae-esque season now that Gardner's been named the starter. I think he's going to provide that experience, that consistency at the quarterback position that the Raiders are going to need to cruise to that 8-9 or 9-8 season.
You hit it right on the point with Devontae. I think, too, for me, it actually makes Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers even a little more higher on their stock. Jacoby Myers is a quiet receiver that's good in late rounds. We'll get into that a little bit later when we get to receivers. But Brock Bowers as well, obviously he's going to be a top 10 drafted tight end. So, it's fun. As a Cowboy fan watching that game, Aiden O'Connell actually probably played better that game. He was the better quarterback in that game, but that just goes to show, don't put anything into preseason, fellas.
Yep. And his accuracy numbers for sure were better in that game. I'm not sure what his yardage was. I think his yardage might have even been better. So statistically he played better all around. But I think it's very weird. I don't know if I was texting you, Gabe, or Ray, or even if it was either of one of you guys. But I just think Aiden, he still lacks that confidence, and Gardner walks around with that stash of confidence. So I think it's just some growing still needs to happen for Aiden to become the starting quarterback.
Better all around for everyone from a fantasy standpoint on the Raiders, for sure.
100%. Another starting quarterback named today, Bo Nix named the starting quarterback for the Broncos. That kind of shocked me. I didn't think he'd be ready so quick in their eyes, but he's had a great preseason. What does that do for the likes of Courtland Sutton and Javonte Williams and those guys there?
To be honest, we don't really know. I mean, I like Bo Nix's talent. I think he is a capable quarterback. I do think he can be a franchise quarterback. We just don't know. We haven't seen it yet with Courtland Sutton. We haven't seen it with Javonte Williams. I'm off the Javonte Williams bandwagon after last year. I just don't think he's that guy, and I don't think he really fits a Sean Payton offense. But Courtland Sutton, I am excited about. Tim Patrick, if he can stay healthy, I hope he stays healthy. Even if he doesn't end up on my teams, I just hope he stays healthy. I feel bad for that guy every year. Bo Nix could be a decent fantasy. So if you have 2 quarterback leagues, or you're taking a deep sleeper, if you have, I think they call them best ball leagues, he might be a guy you pick up late, but he's one of those guys you kind of got to wait and see. And just, if he ends up great the first couple of weeks, you grab him off the waiver wire.
Yeah, and I'm in the same boat. Like, I like Bo Nix. I like what he was able to do at college. I like where he landed here. But if I'm being all honest, not much in this Denver Bronco offense is going to entice me in fantasy football. I don't think there's going to be a ton of action here. Obviously, the running game has some potential, but if I can, I'm avoiding this offense regardless of who's playing quarterback.
Wow. For some reason, Javonte Williams, and I've always liked him as a running back, but for some reason, I don't know why, he's kind of flying up my board. So I'm drafting him with confidence, whereas maybe 3 weeks ago, I wasn't. So I don't know what happened for me. I think I watched him in the preseason, and I was like, okay, the form is there. He looks right already. So hopeful. And I know they got McLaughlin there, and they got Estime from Notre Dame. But I think it's Williams' backfield to dominate. All right, so now done with news and notes. Going to move into wide receiver rankings. We got top 40 wide receivers. Both the guys told me that's too many. I said, how about you actually put in effort and work sometimes? But it's fine. It's fine. So go ahead, Gabe.
You just want all my secret. I said, if you want the list, just ask me. I'll give you my whole list. Jesus.
You did say that. So we have top 40. I got Gabe's up on the screen now. I'm looking at the top 10. It's pretty standard. I'm going to compare yours with Ray's and mine. You got Tyreek Hill at 1, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar, St. Brown, Jefferson, Marvin Harris Jr., highlighted green at 6, A.J. Brown 7, Garrett Wilson 8, Puka 9, Tay Adams 10. Ray flips the 1 and 2. He's got CD at 1, Tyreek Hill at 2, Jefferson, Chase, St. Brown, Puka, A.J. Brown, Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr. at 9, Tay Adams at 10. I have Reek and CD with Jamar, Amon-Ra, A.J. Brown, Jefferson, Garrett Wilson, Tay Adams, Puka, and Marvin Harrison Jr. So, Gabe, I want to talk to you about Marvin Harrison Jr. Why is he 6 for you? He is 9 for Ray and 10 for myself.
Well, I do want to point out real quick. We all have the same top 10, so that's great. We're all on the same page there. Just kind of different rankings there. And it's funny actually. I was looking at it earlier. I might flip Marvin Harrison Jr., AJ Brown. So Marvin Harrison Jr. might be 7 later down in my rankings, but I'm gonna stand on the throne with Marvin Harrison Jr. Look, he is going to be a difference maker. He's the clear number 1 in Arizona. You're going to get a full, healthy offseason with Kyler Murray. Going into the season, he's going to be fully healthy. This Arizona offense is actually going to be very underrated. I think there's going to be – we're seeing the guys get picked up high. They're going higher on draft boards now. Marvin Harrison Jr., to me, I just think he's going to get more volume and more opportunities than guys like Garrett Wilson, like Puka Nacua, like Devontae Adams. Arizona, I still project to not be a great team, so I still think they pass a lot. We've seen Kyler Murray work with number 1s like DeAndre Hopkins in the past. There's not a whole lot of competition after Marvin Harrison Jr., too. You got Marvin Harrison Jr., and then just that receiver, Marco Wilson. They brought in the receiver from Indianapolis. I'm blanking on his name, and oh, my God, I can't believe I didn't pull it up.
Pascal.
But, Zach Pascal.
Thank you. Yeah. Zach Pascal. There's not a whole lot behind Marvin Harrison Jr. You got Trey McBride, but he's a tight end.
The disrespect to Greg Dortch is unbelievable.
Greg Dortch, I forgot Greg Dortch. I'm sorry. Greg Dortch he's probably the number 3 behind Marco Wilson. He might be the number 2, but either way, I can see Marvin Harrison Jr. getting somewhere close to 175 targets, and that's going to be crazy for a rookie wide receiver. I think we're gonna possibly see. I'm gonna stand on the throne. The best rookie wide receiver season statistically ever from Marvin Harrison Jr. this year. I'm very high on him. I have the 12th pick in our Sunday draft on a 12-man league, and he is strongly considered to be picked in that turn for me at the 12-13 pick. So one of those 2 picks, he could come off that board. So I'm very high on Marvin Harrison Jr. I had him about 9 or 10, a couple weeks ago, and then I started seeing things and reading into things, and I said, you know what? I'm going to take a chance on him, and he's going to be my next big rookie that I take a chance on.
All right. Ray, what do you got for MHJ? I know he's in your top 10 as well at 9.
He is, and I'm high on Marvin Harrison Jr. as well, but even I thought I was going a little aggressive, putting him at 9, putting him up in the top 10. I think he's going to be great. I do. He is a rookie. And I know we always expect the biggest of biggest things from rookies, so I just like to temper my expectations a little bit when it comes to rookies. I do expect him to have a solid season. Trey McBride, that you mentioned earlier, is probably going to be his biggest threat for targets, especially in the red zone. So it'll be interesting to see how the target share plays out there, but he's definitely going to be in the lead in target share. And I would not be mad at you, Gabe, for taking Marvin Harrison Jr. at the end of the first round or early second, either way.
175 targets is a large number.
It's a very out there number. It's a bold prediction.
That's all. You're standing on the throne, so
standing on the throne with Marvin Harrison Jr.
Let's bet $1. Let's bet $1 for every single target this year, and however many he's short is how much you owe me. However many he goes over is how much I owe you.
I would want to bring that down. Then I don't know if he goes over 175. 175 was being a bold number already.
That's
but
silly. Yeah.
We can work something. Maybe we drop it down to 150. I'm gonna be interested in 150.
You know what? 150 is pretty high target share still for a rookie. But I
agree.
His competition there isn't much. I mean, they got Zay Jones as well as the other guys that we mentioned, but I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is the alpha there. So I'm really excited. He's in all 3 of our top 10. So not only are you excited, Gabe, Ray and I are as well. So good pick there to highlight green. Now let's go a couple guys that, Ray, you highlighted in red, which is kind of a stay away color, right? So A.J. Brown and
yeah.
Devontae Adams both stay away in your top 10.
Yeah, for me, they're both players that I'm not looking to get. Don't get me wrong, I will draft them. I'm not gonna just completely pass on them, but I have them lower because I think that some of these other guys might be able to put up a little bit better numbers. Devontae, like I'm a big fan of Devontae. I think he's a great player and he has been for a long time. But he is on the wrong side of 30. I don't think the fall off is going to be super dramatic or anything like that. He had his ups and downs last year, and the quarterback situation. I know they announced Minshew as the starter, but it's honestly it's going to be a mess, and I don't know how long Minshew lasts in that starter role. So if they have to go to Aiden O'Connell, that doesn't bode well, I think, for Devontae this season. But I still think he's going to be a top 10 receiver. He's still going to be, someone you want to draft. He's just lower on my rankings.
175 targets, speaking of that number, last year for Devontae. 103 receptions, 1,144 yards, and 8 touchdowns. You think he can repeat that, or you think he will not get to those numbers?
I think he gets to 1,000 yards.
Okay.
I don't know if he's going to get as many targets, if that's going to be such a high number this year. I think that might come down a little bit, which will in turn limit his opportunities. But like I said, still top 10. He's still a guy. If he's your number one receiver, I wouldn't be upset at you.
Yeah, so Devontae for me, like you said, Minshew took the job, but I think some of the arguments you made are valid, but I think he's going to be similar to what Gabe was saying with Marvin Harrison, where I think they're going to still force feed him the ball. If you and I know this, right, having both worked with the Raiders, if Devontae is upset, it is known, not only in the locker room, but it's known throughout the entire building, all the way down to like the lowly interns who are helping run podcasts for the Raiders. We know, right? And so if everyone knows that and he's upset, what do they usually do? They come out the next game and they throw the ball to him 18 times, right? So I think there's going to be a bit of that still this season. And you know what? He's an alpha, right? I use that word with Marvin Harrison Jr. Devontae is a proven alpha, completely 100% in this offense. And I think where did I have him? Let me pull mine up really quick. I had him at 8, so 2 spots higher than you. And I think the same spot. No, 2 spots higher than Gabe as well. So I'm the highest on Devontae, and it sounds like it as I'm talking. But I just don't know if he falls off as far as you think, as far as target share goes. But I guess, time will tell. Gardner Minshew, I love the guy. He's a gunslinger.
That he is.
A.J. Brown, we kind of touched on. Do you want to go any deeper into A.J. Brown, or shall we move on to 11 to 20?
Yeah, I mean, I can go briefly on A.J. Brown. I think if we look at his stats from last year, it was a good season, a solid season when you look at the big picture, right? Like he had 14.8 fantasy points per game, 1,400 plus yards, 7 tutties. Great season, but if you take a look at it from a more micro perspective, from the bye week on, which is week 11, like it kind of fell off, and that I don't think is any coincidence with the Eagles kind of falling off a little bit towards the end of last season. He had 1 touchdown in the second half of the season there, and that's wild, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think that this season's going to be quite that bad as that second half was for him, but I do think it'll be closer to that second half than it was to that first half where he was just absolutely fucking dominating. Excuse my language.
Unbelievable. First curse word of Watch the Throne.
On the
It's
first
episode. First episode Ray's on, and now we gotta drop censors. We gotta make an album cover and put explicit content in the bottom right corner now. Thanks, Ray.
Yep,
I think I dropped one on the first one too, so it's okay. I did it on the first one too.
Okay.
Real quick, I'll just say real quick about AJ
Yeah,
Brown.
well, I know you have some feelings about AJ. Gabe, go ahead.
I'm an AJ Brown fan. The only reason I had Marvin Harrison Jr. ahead of him in my rankings initially is because now you bring in Saquon. I do think they are going to be more of a run team as well. So I do think it's going to take down a little bit of his target share, a little bit of his numbers. Like you said, he only had 7 touchdowns on the year. He had 1 in the second half. He started the year great. We talked about it a little bit earlier, Al, off off the podcast, he had 6 straight games of 125 yards, which is incredible.
It's insane.
That's, you're in non PPR leagues, you're starting off at 12.5 points right there off the bat. So that's a pretty good start for him. And then, like you said, just faded off. I know, being a Cowboys fan, obviously I'm very invested into the NFC East. I know in the beginning he was very upset about his target share. And that's, they were almost force-feeding A.J. Brown, and Devontae Smith kind of was disappearing. So I do think it's going to be a little more balanced this year, especially with Saquon there now. I do like A.J. Brown. I do think the ADP with him in the first round is a little wild for me.
Mm-hmm.
I would love him in the second round, but I understand why the ADP is in the first round.
Yeah, first round pick on A.J. Brown is a little bit, what's the term I'm looking for? Bullish, right? Is that the correct term?
Yeah.
It's a little bit too bullish for me as well, and I think I'll be happy letting someone else take him in the first round, and I'll take my chances elsewhere. I think you guys are both pretty spot on that. We had the graphic up, Ray. Ray made his own graphics. We put the AJ Brown graphic up. Ray made that. Well done.
I try.
Yeah, you got me in trouble. He said I need to start making my own graphics. I said, no, I'm the talent. I'm just the voice. I don't do graphics. What is that? I give you my guys. You make the graphics.
Damn. I just got put in my place so hard. Unbelievable.
I'm sorry, guys. They're getting a deep dive. They're getting a behind-the-scenes look into Watch the Throne podcast. This is how it goes down when we're talking about the podcast nights.
Yes, it is. Gabe just puts me in my place, and then I have to host the show. 11 through 20. Gabe, I said we wouldn't do this, but here we are doing it. I'm going to read your 11 through 20, then I'll read Ray's, and I'll read mine. Mike Evans, 11. Jalen Waddle, 12. Ayuk, 13. Collins, 14. DJ Moore, 15. Stephon Diggs, 16. Boo. Deebo Samuel, 17. Pittman Jr., 18. Olave, 19. Cooper Kupp, 20. Ray, Michael Pittman, Chris Olave, Brandon Ayuk, DJ Moore, Drake London, Deebo, Mike Evans, Jalen Waddle, DK Metcalf, Nico Collins. Seems a little bit different. Al, myself, Drake London, Jalen Waddle, Cooper Kupp, DJ Moore, Evans, Nico, Michael Pittman Jr., Chris Olave, Deebo, and DK Metcalf. Gabe, DJ Moore at 15.
Look, DJ Moore had an incredible season last year. I let me pull it up real quick. He finishes the wide in our league. Well, we do have a couple of bonuses, so it's not your standard scoring, but he finishes the wide receiver 6.
You want to hear something wild?
Let's hear it.
You're actually lower on DJ Moore than both Ray and I. We're both at 14. So I love hearing what you're saying about DJ Moore. I wasn't calling you out for a negative is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
I would have DJ Moore would be probably my top 10 if they didn't also bring over Keenan Allen and they drafted Rome Odunze, and then you also have Cole Kmet. You bring over DeAndre Swift, so I think your running game also improves a little bit. I'm excited about Caleb Williams. We talked about that on the quarterback episode. I'm probably a lot higher on Caleb Williams than a lot of other people are. I'm willing to take a chance on Caleb Williams. If I took a chance on Caleb Williams, it'd probably be 2 quarterbacks back to back. But I think DJ Moore is still going to be his primary weapon. It reminds me of the situation in Houston where there's a lot of who is the number one. But in Chicago, I don't think that we haven't heard any doubt that DJ Moore is the guy still. He is the number one receiver. I still expect him to see anywhere from 10 to 12 targets a game. He is that guy. He's still the number one. I think he's going to stay consistent. My only concern, I do think the volume and everything does come down a little bit with obviously Keenan Allen and all those additions I mentioned, Rome Odunze, DeAndre Swift. But I still love DJ Moore. I think for me, if I got him in the 3rd round, that would be perfect. If he falls to that 3rd round, I think his ADP right now is 3rd round. So that's my thinking on him. But I am a DJ Moore fan.
No, I like it. I think you speak truths with DJ Moore when it comes to what Ray and I think. Ray, I want to highlight someone on yours that is at number 11, and you highlighted him green on the graphic that you made. And you have him at 11. I believe
I do.
Both Gabe and I have him down closer to the 17-18 range.
Yeah, no, I'm high on
Talk to me.
I'm high on Pittman, and I know I'm way higher than most people are on him. I'm a big fan of this guy, and I've been a big fan of his for a while. But if you're able to put up 1,000 yards in a Gardner Minshew offense in the Colts when they have very few weapons outside of him, it's a good sign. And we were all hyped. I don't know about you guys, but it felt like everybody was on the AR-15 hype train last year. So with him coming back and his ability to not only take a little pressure off the passing by using his legs, but fire the ball in there to a guy with size like Pittman. I'm excited. I'm excited for him. I'm expecting his numbers to improve over last season. And I'll be drafting him probably in every league I'm in.
Yeah, I see you project him for 9 touchdowns. That's more than double his output from last year. You actually give him less targets, less receptions, and less yards. So some realistic thinking with Anthony Richardson running as a quarterback. For me, I'm not sold on Anthony Richardson's passing ability quite yet. So I'm very worried about Michael Pittman. I think they're going to run a Ravens-esque type offense with Jonathan Taylor and Anthony Richardson kind of toting a lot of the work. So I'm personally a bit worried about Michael Pittman for the reasons I listed.
And we talked about it earlier offline again that Michael Pittman was the most consistent receiver last year of anybody. He just, from week 1 to week 17 or 18, whatever your championship is, he just every week was 15 to 20 fantasy points in PPR scoring. We went over it. What Anthony Richardson played 2 full games. What Michael Pittman's numbers were in those 2 games. There's one game it was like 8 catches and 90 yards, which is a good game, and then the other one about 1 catch for 15 yards, which is not a good game. Right. So the concern is there. It's fair. For me, the only concern is he's not a big touchdown scorer. He is a good PPR guy. I think Michael Pittman Jr. is a great number 2 receiver to have, though. He probably will go a little higher than I would like to draft him this year. There are other guys I'm a little more excited about that are ahead of him that I'm hoping to get in that 3rd, 4th round. 3rd round, 4th round, if he's there, I think I jump on it. But Michael Pittman Jr., I'm another fan of his. He's a talented receiver. We said earlier he'd probably be a great number 2 on any team. I think he is a borderline number 1 NFL wide receiver. Be a killer number 2 anywhere. Yep. But Michael Pittman Jr., he should have another good fantasy season.
Ray, what's the earliest you would take him being this high on him?
It would be a late 2nd or early 3rd if I was gonna take him. Generally, most people aren't gonna rank him as high as I do, so I'll end up getting him in the 3rd or 4th round. You have to be aware of other people and who you're drafting with, who you're playing against, right? And I know that I'm absurdly high on Michael Pittman, so I can wait a little longer than someone else might.
Kind of wild how high you are on him, but you know what?
Yeah.
That could be your first. Say it, Ray. Say it.
Standing on the throne, baby.
Let's go.
I love it.
Let's
go.
I don't think I don't know if I've stood on the throne for anything yet. I'm so neutral. I'm like Switzerland.
We need to step your game up. We need to find someone you're about to step. Can I want to stand on the throne on 2 guys that you guys had in your top 20 that I don't.
Yeah, I was actually going to point him out really quick right now. Actually,
can we call an audible too? We'll do that, and then maybe we'll go into our mock.
Yes.
Is that okay? Okay.
Yeah.
So, Drake London.
Yep, that's
is
what
a guy.
Audible to. Yep, that's what I was going to go to.
And honestly, I forget. Off the top of my head, I don't know where you guys had him exactly on the list.
11 for me.
Oof.
And 15 for Ray.
He is 21 on my list. So here's my thinking. I have not seen anything in his first 2 years in the league to say, you know what, Drake London is that guy. He just doesn't have the quarterback. And I know everyone's going, well, he doesn't have a quarterback. He doesn't have a quarterback. What game or what instance, what play do you just see from Drake London? And you're like, oh my God, yeah, he's the number 1. I haven't seen that still. That's just me. You're getting a quarterback in Kirk Cousins, who great name. He's coming off an Achilles at 36 years old. I don't know how he's going to react off that Achilles at 36 years old. I do think they are going to focus a lot more on Bijan Robinson. everything that I've seen and heard, he's actually have a great connection with Kyle Pitts. So Kyle Pitts might be that guy that, Atlanta benefits the most from Kirk Cousins.
Finally.
I'm right. I mean, I won't touch him. I'm off that bandwagon. I learned my lesson last year. But I just don't get the hype around Drake London. I really don't. And that's just my thinking. I know I'm pretty much on an island here. I'm going to stand on the throne and say Drake London is not a top. I'll say top 20. Top 20 receiver. I don't think he's just that. I don't think he's that guy. And I think this is the final year where that hype will die down. And next year he'll finally be down there where he should be.
That's so crazy. 21 out of the top 20. I mean, I get it. I get your arguments make sense, but I don't. I understand the argument, but I don't agree with. I suppose.
In another time, we're gonna we won't do this now, but just talent-wise, if you're just going, not even fantasy football, if you're just going off talent, how many receivers would you put ahead of Drake London? I can name of quite a few actually, but
I'd say 10.
10 for sure.
Because I have him at
11. But, obviously that's just – I know it's fantasy football and we're not talking real football, but at the end of the day, too, you got to take guys that are talented. If Michael Pitt – or I keep saying Michael Pittman. I'm stuck on Michael Pittman still. If Drake London is going to be that number one receiver and going to be taken that high, he's got to show me he's a number one receiver, and I just haven't seen it.
Sure. All right, so that's 1 through 20. We have 21 through 40. I'm not going to read them off. I'm going to finally do like we planned so we can get in the mock draft, and we'll have to speed through that. But, yeah, Drake London out of your top 20, Gabe. Other notables, let me see here. Ray, you have Terry McLaurin, Christian Kirk, highlighted green, Stephon Diggs, red. I agree with the Stephon Diggs. I think Gabe may also agree with the Stephon Diggs being highlighted red. Not too sure. I have Tank Dell, George Pickens, and Xavier Worthy as guys that I'm looking at later. I don't think Gabe has Worthy in his top 40. But he has Hollywood Brown in there, so that's an interesting one. He also has Keon Coleman, which I believe neither of us have either in the top 40. Yeah. Ray, let's talk really quick. Let's talk Scary Terry.
Scary Terry. Big fan. I'm high on him, and I'm surprised he's not being talked about more. And it probably has to do with his low TD numbers, right? He's definitely the deep threat guy. He's the run far as fast as you can and catch the ball type of dude. But I think the Commanders are going to use him a little more this season. We've heard reports out of camp, right, that they're going to be moving him around different positions on the field, letting him play a little slot, play on the outside. But I'm really high on Jaden Daniels, and I think that he's going to have a solid rookie season. Don't get me wrong; he's not going to be the greatest quarterback season of all time, but he's going to have a solid season. And Terry McLaurin is going to be his number one weapon. And if he's not throwing the ball to Terry McLaurin, then he's not doing what Jaden Daniels does. So I expect Terry to have a nice season.
Dude, and Terry McLaurin makes some of the hardest catches look simple. He's actually really explosive and very talented. So it'll be fun to see if Jaden Daniels can become the quarterback that everyone hopes he will, what that will produce from Terry McLaurin.
Well, I mean, and if you think about it, is it really that far of a stretch to think Jaden Daniels is going to be able to provide Terry McLaurin the opportunities to put up numbers? Like, this man has put up 4 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons, and do you know who's been playing quarterback in Washington? Alex Smith, Taylor Heineke. We had the Carson Wentz experience, little Sam Howell action. I think we can all agree that, Jaden Daniels is, if not better than them, at least on their level.
Yeah.
I won't speak on Terry McLaurin, but I will say this. I was looking at the rankings right now. From maybe around 15 to around 30, the wide receiver ranks. Honestly, you could have those guys put in anywhere. All those guys are almost just kind of about the same. It's just a matter of preference. Who do you like? Who do you believe in? Who do you think is going to have a good season? That's in Terry McLaurin. I'm a fan of Terry McLaurin. I have him a little lower, but I do like Terry McLaurin. Like I would draft him probably in that 5th, 6th round turn that I have in that 12th pick this weekend. So I I like Terry McLaurin, but there are guys I just like a little more than him. And again, it's just about preference. But if you told me you had Terry McLaurin, 25, even top 20, I wouldn't be mad at it. He is that talented, and he can be that guy this year.
Yeah, I see you have him at 32. I have him at 29, and Ray had him at 25. Ray highlighted a guy in green that I know Gabe also likes, so I'm going to give you guys the opportunity. I'll give you like a minute each to have your Christian Kirk love fest. I just don't get it. I'll let Ray start, and then Gabe, you can pick up where he leaves off.
What's not to get, man? He's the guy there at Jacksonville. He's the target hog. He's talented, and Trevor Lawrence, like, I'm gonna be honest, I've never been a big Trevor Lawrence guy. I've always thought he's been overrated, whatnot. But like, I think he's gonna put up a nice season, and I'm excited for Christian Kirk this year.
Look, when I tell people to draft Christian Kirk this year, I go more based off 2 years ago rather than last year. The Calvin Ridley experiment was a failure for Jacksonville. I just don't think they had the rapport, and that's another thing people have to realize when it comes to like fantasy football and even real football. It's more than just talent. It's more than, this quarterback's talented, that receiver's talented, they should work. They have to have a rapport. They have to know each other. And Trevor Lawrence and Christian Kirk have that rapport, and they just know each other, and they trust each other. And Christian Kirk is a PPR machine. Yep. Christian is the perfect flex. If you can get Christian Kirk, I would advise it. I'm kind of big on him this year. I'm going to aim for him. I don't know if I'll get him in some of my drafts, but I do know I'll get him in a couple others that I'm aiming for him. He is the number one in Jacksonville. And even last year, I think, people were excited about Calvin Ridley. If Christian Kirk stayed healthy, he might have been that number one receiver if he stayed healthy the last, I think it was like 5 or 6 games he missed. The only downside with Christian Kirk is he just doesn't get the touchdowns. But if you're in a full point PPR league, he's still going to get you anywhere from around 15 points. Consistently, he will be around 15 points. So Christian Kirk is that flex that you want to aim for. And to me, I think I said it on a couple episodes ago, he's probably the best pure slot receiver in the league. So you get the best pure slot receiver in the 7th round, maybe 8th, maybe 6th, somewhere between there. That's a win for me.
I guess I have unnecessary hate toward Christian Kirk. I don't know. I mean, you guys are both telling me I'm wrong. 12 games last year, 57 catches on 85 targets, 787 yards, 3 touchdowns. Ray, you're projecting him 112 targets, 82 receptions, 1,044 yards, and 7 touchdowns. So, again, more than double his touchdown output. But also expecting a full season, obviously. 17.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to project for full seasons, and I think he is probably going to score more touchdowns. I mean, the biggest competition there for touchdowns was Evan Ingram. I'm not huge on the Gabe Davis train that seems to be going around. So I think Christian Kirk's going to be the primary option.
I will say real quick before we move, I was all in on Trevor Lawrence last year. I had him in pretty much every fantasy league I was in. I was in 6. I think I had him in about 4 or 5 of my leagues. So I watched a lot of Jacksonville football. They tried to force feed Calvin Ridley, and it just didn't work, unfortunately. It worked for a minute. He did have a good start, but they tried to force feed Calvin Ridley because they thought, Calvin Ridley is that guy. He's the number one. It just didn't work out. So I think we're going to go back to a more natural offense like we saw 2 years ago where Christian Kirk is the number one clear-cut receiver there.
I have one more thing I want to talk about before we go into mock draft. I'm sorry, don't shoot me. All 3 of us have all 3 of the wide receivers from Houston in the top 40.
It's wild.
That can't happen, right? All 3 will not finish in the top 40, will they?
Why not?
And who does it? Who's the first one out if it's not possible? I have the answer. I'm curious what you guys think. I think it's pretty easy. He's marked red in both mine and Ray's. probably would be marked red in yours too, Gabe. But
You're not Stephon Diggs, are you?
Stephon Diggs is who will not get there, in my opinion, in the top 40.
Wow.
If we had to pick one.
I can't even pick one. All three are too talented not to be. Now, granted, this is barring injuries, and we can't predict that. I don't see how all three of them don't make the top 40. I think
curious,
we talked about.
You know what I'm curious about? How often has that actually happened in fantasy? I'd be curious to know that stat.
It's tough, yeah.
I want to look that up, actually. After we get off, I'll try to figure that out.
I remember a season back in the day. This is probably it had to be in the 2000s because with the Arizona Cardinals, Kurt Warner, and I might give someone a prize if they can guess this third receiver. It was Larry Fitzgerald, Anquan Bolden, and there was a third receiver that got 1,000 yards. Do you both know who that third receiver was by chance?
Can I take a shot in the dark here?
Go ahead, take a shot.
Was it Bryant Johnson?
No, it was not.
Decent guess?
Steve Breston.
Wow, that's right.
Do you remember Steve Breston?
Wow.
Kurt Warner, quarterback, 1,000 yards. All three receivers. I can see that for Houston.
So
my only concern is I don't know. I can see someone being less favorable of the three. I mean, I have Tank Dell lowest, but I don't think Tank Dell is. I think just for me, it's the ceiling of Stephon Diggs. We know Stephon Diggs is an elite receiver in the league. It's just it's crowded wide receivers there, and you just can't feed everyone the ball.
I think I am the only one that has. Yeah, wow, you got Stephon Diggs all the way up at 16, Gabe.
I do. I don't understand why he's so low at times. I think he is crawling up. I have seen him kind of creep into that third round ADP lately as we get closer to drafts. Stephon Diggs is the number one receiver in this league. I understand Nico Collins is younger. He might have a brighter future.
So is
but
Tank
we're
Dell.
just going. Yeah, if we're going just into this season, though, I think CJ Stroud's favorite receiver is going to be the open receiver. I don't think he's going to play favorites. It's just a matter of who's going to be open the most and who's going to be better. And I think for me, it's Stephon Diggs.
So here's where I'm at with it. Last year, Stephon Diggs, weeks 1 through 12, 19 fantasy points per game. On deep targets, he went 18 catches in 32 attempts. Week 13 through the playoffs, the fantasy playoffs, my man was putting up 9.1 fantasy points per game. Wow. Deep targets, 2 catches in 16 attempts. And that can't be just opportunity or defensive adjustments. That to me signals a downturn. And I don't know how serious it's going to be, but here's another number that I found when I was doing some research on Stephon Diggs. 30-year-old receivers or 30-year-old or older receivers who have averaged more than 10 fantasy points per game since 2021, 8.4% of those receivers have done it. So it's just tough. And then you got to contend with the Texans running game, right? Like they like to run the ball. They throw obviously a lot, but they also use 2 running back formations more than any other team in the league.
Whoa. I didn't know that.
Well, last year,
the Dolphins do it a lot too, so I thought maybe they're up top. But
32% of the time last season, the Texans ran 2 running backs.
Wow.
Real quick, do you know? And again, it's preseason. How much can we take into that? Do you know who the 2 receivers have been when they do start and they do that when they only have 2 receivers on the field?
I don't, and I haven't watched their both of their preseason games yet.
It's been Nico and Stephon. It's been
okay.
They take Tank Dell off. I think they are going to work Tank Dell more in that slot, and I do love that for him. Yeah. Ray just came and just dunked on me with all these numbers and stats. I'm over here just talking football, and Ray just came over. Here's your numbers. Here's your stats. Get dunked on. I was like, LeBron James in the Olympics right now. Sheesh.
I saw Ray push his glasses up on his nose. He saw, look at these numbers I got here.
I felt his,
well done.
We won't go there. We're trying to keep it PG here.
Very well done. Very well done.
That was and you made a great, compelling point. I just know the talent. I know Stephon Diggs checked out, and I will say that is one possibility. If he just checks out again like he did in Minnesota and he did in Buffalo, Sure, I can see that for sure. I wouldn't be surprised by that.
You didn't let me say it. I was gonna say, I think for me it's his mental. I think he's somehow become almost too big for himself, almost like toward the end of the OBJ, which I know OBJ is still trying to do it, but OBJ, I don't want to use the letters A and B next to each other in comparison, so I won't.
Woo!
But I think he's not, for whatever reason, I think, like I said, I think he's become a little bit too big even for himself. So I think the other two guys want it more, to be honest.
Yeah, don't give him CTE yet. I mean,
yeah.
Let's not go that far with Diggs yet.
Yeah,
but
no, definitely.
I hear what you said. I would, my last point, real quick. I would just say, who would you pick as the most talented receiver going into this season? Obviously, Nico Collins has the brightest future, I think, of the three. I don't think any of us would disagree on that. Who would you say going into the season, though, is the best receiver on that team today?
Dalton Schultz.
Atta baby. Cade Stover.
Former Cowboy. I'm not mad at it. I think you would have to say the best receiver going into the season on paper is Stephon Diggs. Now, again, I talked earlier about rapport and everything, and he has that rapport with Tank Dell and Nico Collins already. So
it's really, really hard for me to not be super excited about Tank Dell. I don't know why. It's just he's so fun to watch out there. He's electric. He's a tiny guy. Like, he's about Ray's size, and he's out there in the NFL just dominating. So,
love me some.
Yeah, it's just great. It's just fun to watch him. It's hard to not be excited about him.
Love all three. It's just so crowded, and there's not enough footballs around to go feed everyone. So, I love all three. But you're right. Someone's gonna have a down season. Who is it? I mean, you made the compelling argument. It could be Stephon Diggs.
All right. Last note before we go to the fantasy mock. We don't have to talk about it. I'm just going to list three guys that I have green. I did Tank Dell, George Pickens, Xavier Worthy. I'm high on Xavier Worthy from what he's done so far in the preseason. He's not even in your top 40, Gabe. That's kind of wild to me. Ladd is in 2 of the 3 of our top 40s. And then Christian Watson sneaks in to Ray's top 40. Jamison Williams was 41 for me, so he just missed my top 40. I see he's in your top 40, Gabe. Pretty solid rankings. I like the debates we had, I think. This was Watch the Throne. Al King, Gabe Hernandez, Ray Flethcer. Signing off until next time, next Wednesday night. Tight ends.
Peace.
Yeah, that was a good close. We got a piece from Ray. That's all we need.